All right, y'all. What's up? Saw this video called "What's Keeping Middle Class Salaries Low," and I just wanted to break it down from the average middle class working man, just to see if I could simplify this and see if we can make sense of why the salaries are low, why we don't get the raises that we feel that we deserve, and especially with the inflation and prices the way that they are right now. And this is a election season, so all this stuff should be important to you, not identity politics, but finances should be like number one when it comes to voting. But let's get into it. Let's watch it.
Between 1979 to 2024, productivity in the US soared by 80.9%, while hourly pay grew by just 29.4% during the same period.
The paychecks of typical workers have not grown nearly as fast as overall economic growth over the past 40 years.
In June 2024, two-thirds of middle-income households believed that their income was falling behind the cost of living.
I saw this years ago. I remember working at a warehouse back in the late 90s, early 2000s. And we had these annual meetings about insurance. And every year, the insurance rate would increase. And at first, it was like little subtle increases. We had a lot of insurance plans we could choose from. But then as time went on, we got fewer and fewer insurance uh, plans that we could choose from. And then the insurance rates were going up by like, let's say, I want to say anywhere from 5 to 7% every year. But then our raises were only going up anywhere from 2 to 4%, depending on, you know, how the boss felt about you. Now, back then, I didn't understand that. I thought like everyone could get 4%, everyone can get 3%, or whatever the case may be. But the way it was, the way when I got into like the corporate side of the job, or the manager side of working, I found out that what it is your the job you work for, somewhere somebody from on high says that your the place you work has an average 4%. When it's time for raises, 4% for your facility. That's what the average has to be. So now it's up to the supervisor to figure out who gets what. So let's say we got two employees, and one of them is a great employee, goes above and beyond, and you know that they deserve 4% raise. Okay. But then that second employee, which means that they can't get anything. And now you know that's unfair, and they're not going to tolerate that, and they're going to, quick as they get it, first chance they get, they're going to go ahead and look for somewhere else to work. Which they should, because you look for raises every year because the cost of living goes up every year. The value of a dollar goes down like 7%, from 3 to 7% every year. And so if you don't get a raise, your dollar does not go as far as it did the year before. So that's how that, like I said, them raises and 4% raises go. So if you ever getting a raise and you ever, it's a job and it's time for, reviews, and you see you only get like 1.5 or 2%, you're like, man, that's kind of low. Best believe if you're getting 2%, somebody else is probably getting what is that? 6, can get like 3 or 4, probably someone can get to 4, because you got more employees. So somebody might be getting 4. If you're getting 2, somebody's getting 3, 3.5, something like that. So don't think that. I mean, that's just something for you to think about next time you get an annual raise.
I think that many Americans feel the financial struggle because their household budget and their household balance sheets are facing so much pressure.
Every time I check my local mom group on Facebook, I see requests or people asking where they can get some financial assistance to pay utilities.
Yeah, I believe that 29% of households have jobs but struggle to cover basic needs. It's tough. I mean, it's tough. But it's easy for people to say, hey, just live below your means. Okay, well, here's the issue. Especially if got somewhere. Sometimes it's like you gotta look in the future. You gotta kind of see, what's going. You gotta kind of predict what's going to happen in the future. So you gotta pay attention to the news, pay attention to the financial sections in the news, in the newspaper, and Wall Street Journal, things like that. To kind and the stock market to kind of get a grasp of a little understanding of what's going on economically past just you and your job and going to McDonald's every day. Because if you've already gotten to a lifestyle, by the time you figure out it's time to scale back, no, I don't want to say it's too late, but it's almost too late, and you have to figure out a way to, pay off debts. Then you have to like budget, sacrifice some things, let some things go in order to pay things off. Let's say you might have to sell your house and get a smaller one, but if you get a house that's not equal to the house that you live in now, depending on the equity that you have, you may have to pay a penalty for buying a lesser valued house. So I mean, but that the world is created for you to always be in debt. So it is what it is, right?
Or assistance with rent. And it's concerning because these people are working full-time jobs and they just can't make things work right now.
The issue of wage trends, wage suppression, I mean, it just could not be more central to what has happened to the middle class over the past couple of decades.
So, what exactly is keeping the middle class from earning a higher paycheck?
I think people think inflation is a policy problem, but wages are my problem. And it turns out wages are not just your problem. Wages are entirely a policy and political variable.
The main goal of policymakers at the Federal Reserve is to ensure maximum employment while keeping prices stable.
And that's true, and you understand that because down here in Texas, minimum wage is still $7.50 an hour, $7.25, $7.50 an hour. It's been like that forever. So yeah, y'all understand that stuff all this stuff comes from up top. Even the place that you work at, like I say, the raises, that's not in your facility. As a matter of fact, that's probably not even in the company you work for. That goes to the federal level in how they where they come up with those numbers.
Rely on various economic data to guide their decisions, including the natural rate of unemployment.
Economists produce this thing they call the natural rate of unemployment. It's like the lowest unemployment can go without generating inflation.
So I looked up that natural rate of unemployment, and it's basically saying that you're gonna always have unemployment because one, for different reasons. Like one was kids coming out of college looking for a job, so they may not have a job at the time. People moving from one job or one city to another for a job. So that places you work at, you leave, they don't have anybody working. So now there's a in your position until they fill it. Well, there goes an unemployment, statistic. Or people leaving jobs for better jobs or leaving to transferring to another city, whatever. The job that you leave is going to create, like I said, a statistic of unemployment. And also, what was another one? Or technology was another reason. Like AI, there are jobs that you can go Google and go on these webs, like I say, Wall Street Journal, things of that nature, and they'll tell you about jobs that was going to be obsolete pretty soon because of AI and technology. Like you see the cashiers, you go to these grocery stores, people are mad because of not a lot of cashiers, but you can be pissed and upset and fussed. But these employers are willing to deal with that frustration because they know eventually you gonna cave and you gotta eat. So say you go to the grocery store and you say, "Man, I'm sick of this. There are no employees. I gotta go. I'm leaving." So you got people that leave their basket, but eventually they're gonna have to come back. You can find a little store that may have employees, but then the prices might be a little higher because it's gonna be like a small, maybe mom and pop retailer, and they have employees. They can't afford to get the robots and the kiosks and stuff right now. So they got employees, so they got to pay their salaries, they got to pay insurance and all this kind of stuff. So You got to account for theft. You got to account for people being sick. So the prices are going to be put on the consumer. But these major stores, they got like I say, the self checkout, and the prices may be a little bit cheaper. So eventually, you'll come back, and they know this. So these jobs or these companies are willing to deal with that, your frustration, until you come back, and they know you'll come back and you'll accept it. Just because, like I say, technology, as your time comes to change comes with time. So cashiers, warehouse jobs, fast food workers, things of that nature, anything they can do. You see robots with, robot waiters and waitresses. You see these driverless cars bringing your pizza to your house. They got these drones that's supposed to drop off some of your packages. A lot of these jobs are about to be obsolete in the next 10, 20 years. So unless you keep up with the technology, train yourself, train your children to keep up with technology, it won't be that they'll still be working at McDonald's when they're 30. It'll be that they'll have no job when they're 30. Because hey, you got lawnmowers that don't need nobody to push them. Man, keep it with the technology, keep it with the times, pay attention to what's going on, and try to beat it. That's that's the best way to help guarantee employment.
Throughout history, the natural rate of unemployment has hovered between 4.5% and 5.5%.
And then we look at actual unemployment and how often it is above that estimate of the natural rate versus below. And if you look at the years since 1979, we have spent far more time with actual unemployment well above that estimate of the natural rate.
Between 1949 and 1979, the actual unemployment rate was cumulatively 15.3% below the natural rate of unemployment. In contrast, the unemployment rate was cumulatively 35.7% above the natural rate of unemployment between 1979 and 2017. This has real-world consequences for the American middle class, because wages tend to grow faster during periods when unemployment is low. The Economic Policy Institute estimates that just a 1 percentage point drop in unemployment leads to wage growth of 0.4 to 0.9 percentage points for workers near the median of the wage distribution.
The best bargaining chip any employee has to getting wage growth is going to the boss and saying, I'm going to go somewhere else unless I make more money. And that's just not a credible threat when unemployment is high.
I'm gonna tell you, in the field that I'm in, that has never been a credible threat. Well, and I've only been in there like less than a decade, but it's never been a credible threat. You can go and work at a place for a year, go above and beyond. Shoot, I can even say that working in warehouses back in the day, same thing. So I could say I could say about almost 30 years of employment, whether it was a labor job, a manual labor job, or a skilled trade. Go from nursing to nursing and warehousing. You work there a certain amount of time. It's time for your annual review. Like I said, you get like 2%, which is like nothing. The older you get, the more you're like, man, this ain't nothing. If I stay at this place for 25 years, let's say if I start out at $30 an hour, in 25 years, I'll be lucky to be making $40, and that's not going to do it. So I have to maximize my earning potential. So I'll say this: in the years I've been in the field I'm in, I think I'm nearly maxed out what I can make in those little years than most people would do. Like I say, in 20 years, just because I had got experience, go to another job, and then come back through. And now, like I say, now I'm maximizing what I can earn. But that could also it could be a gift and a curse. Because let's say you go back to the place or you're working somewhere and you like pretty much maxed out on what you can make at the time without moving up the ladder, and you want to kind of go to another position because where you at, you're not happy, or you want to try something new, and it's kind of like a lateral move. If you're making more than the people that's already in that position, they're not gonna hire you because you cost too much. I've seen it happen a few times that you could be qualified, people could want you, but because of what you make, because of your experience or whatever, the money you make, they're like, nah, we can't afford to hire you at that position because right now that position is not paying them up because you don't have the experience in that particular position. So we're not hiring, we're not starting out for inexperienced people in that position at what you make. So now you're stuck where you at. So like I say, it could be a positive and negative, but I mean positively, you know what I'm saying, you making a lot of money and you can demand, then you can like, but if you go like somewhere else, you can demand, hey, I need this much, that much. But thing about it, just make sure that your work is, make sure your work is equal to your pay, because if you go somewhere try to do something different and people find out that you're not really worth what you're being paid, no one's really gonna hire you.
The only people whose wages are not very affected by unemployment are
But yeah, jobs and most jobs are not gonna give you, if you go looking for a raise, say, hey, I want a $2 raise, they're not gonna do it because corporately they can't do it. Shoot, people have told me, I done seen bosses say, hey, it's probably best if you go somewhere else, get, make more money quicker, go, you know what I'm saying, then maybe come back later, in a couple of years or whatever, to make more money. And hey, I've talked to people who have worked, put in a notice and said they're quitting and they've only been in the place a year. And I said, hey, I hate to lose you. Would love you to be here. But I mean, financially, I understand it because for you and your family, where your loyalty lies, it's best to do that. So you can, like I said, make more herb and make more money because, like I say, inflation is killing us, especially now, like in the last 4 years, man, it's been ridiculous. So it's like, shoot, you got to maximize your money because prices are going up and nobody's caring.
like the 90th and 95th percentile. Like they don't need super low unemployment to get some consistent wage growth, but the middle class absolutely does.
This means the Federal Reserve's policy decisions that result in higher than necessary unemployment might be creating conditions that actively hold back wage growth for middle-class Americans. Location could be another factor.
There are other reasons for why we've seen less growth in the middle than, say, at the other parts of the distribution. Another one is just that people don't move as much as they used to.
The share of Americans on the move has declined over the years, from more than 20% in 1948 to just 8.7% in 2020.
And I know that down here in Texas or in the South, people move. A lot of times people move out the country because I could say like both my parents, they're from little small towns in Arkansas and Texas. And they family, their brothers and sisters all move to Dallas or, the Dallas area to get better jobs because there's nothing down there in the country. So they technically move. Now, a lot of these small towns are turned to big towns or turning into big town. I remember Frisco, which is like north of Dallas, maybe like 25, 30 years ago. It was number sunflower fields. And like small little rural roads that like stopped at the field. And then they built this big mall and it's like, oh man, big thing. And then next thing you know, they created tollways. And now Frisco's like, shoot, super expensive living on the like heavily populated. A lot of big businesses and corporations are out there within the past 30 years. And now they're trying to do that like all over the Dallas Fort Worth suburbs. So it's really no need to really move as much as people needed to because now everything is like right there in the same area that you live or grew up in.
2022. Between 1986 and 1997, almost 29% of job seekers relocated for new jobs. That number has fallen to just 1.6% in 2023. Location plays a crucial role in wages. Despite the surge in remote work during the COVID-19 pandemic, wages for remote and hybrid jobs haven't grown nearly as much as salaries for full-time in-office roles, with some research estimating that remote workers could earn up to 30% more if they came into the office 5 days a week.
But then think about it. You get paid more, but more of your money will go to things like buying lunch, buying gas, which I mean helps the economy, which is why a lot of times these corporations want you to come back to the office because it helps that community. If everybody stays home, who gonna buy gas? right? Who gonna go out and buy lunch every day? Who gonna like stop at the store and go shopping? You know, who gonna be wanting to leave the house and go get clothes and this that, and the third when you're at home all day? Leave to go get a haircut, get your hair done, nails, whatever the case may be. You ain't gotta do this much because you sitting home saving money. So it's a yin and a yang, it's a give and a take. So it ain't all just one sided.
Decades ago, when I was a worker living in sort of a lower opportunity area, I would move to a higher productivity city, like maybe San Francisco or New York City or Los Angeles. And as a result, I'd be able to capture higher wages, gain more skills, and then move up the income distribution. Now there's a lot less people moving across areas to capture those opportunities. Real reason behind that is astronomical housing costs that are due to excessive regulations at local levels.
Home prices hit a record high in June 2024, with existing homes selling at a median price of $426,900.
Tell you a quick story. I got a friend of mine who bought a house a few years back. Anyway, like this year, he had to have a phone call with the county for, tax appraisal, trying to lower his property taxes. I don't think he ever had to do it before. So he was at work and he said, "Hey man, I need you to hold the fort down for me while I go make this call." I'm like, "All right, tell me what it's about." He said, "Man, what should I say?" I said, "Well, they're gonna ask you to have like, but best thing if you have like specs on houses in the neighborhood, look them up. You can go to the appraisal district, look at everybody's houses, see what the taxes were, the home values were like last year, couple like up to 3 years, taxes, all that kind of stuff. People in your neighborhood, outside the neighborhood, in the area, this, that, and the third. Take pictures of take pictures of your yard or your property. Show there was no improvements. This and the third." He said, "Okay, fine." He left, come back, had this look on his face like he lost his best friend. It was like, man. I said, "Man, what they tell you?" He said, "Man." He said, "I bought my house." He said, "I paid, I'll say like 300,000 for it. 300 some thousand for it." I said, "Okay, man, this is what they told me it's worth now." And he showed me a piece of paper. That son gun said over 600,000. And he's only been in that house for like 3-4 years, if that. And I'm like, "Dang, dude, what you do? Like add a whole another house to the backyard?" He said, "No." He said what they told him is, he said, see, his house was like one of his subdivision, like one of the only subdivisions in that area when he bought it. But they done built like another subdivision and in the middle of building another one. So that's why the values and the people, and say got people with money living in the neighborhood too. So that's why the values shot up like that. But I'm like, damn, you talking about, I'm like, double? I'm like, boy, your taxes is like, ooh, man, I tell you, you need to start a business, something at your house if you can get them taxes home. You say homestead? He said, yeah. I said, you need to get your home-based business so you can do some hellified write-offs because, man, or you're going to be working overtime until you sell that house or pay it off.
In line with typical seasonal trends, home prices declined in July and August, but still set new records for those months.
The overwhelming number of jobs in the US are in places that have really not seen much construction of housing.
Some economists also argue that globalization has played a pivotal role in stalling wage growth for middle-income Americans.
The expansion of trade with countries that have much lower wages, I think that was always going to provide quite a bit of pressure on the US middle class because so much of that trade runs through like the manufacturing sector, which is where a lot of middle class jobs have been.
Between 1995 and 2013, trade with lower wage nations like Mexico and China reduced wages for.
I'm trying to see if I want to skip through this because I've watched it. I said a lot. It's an interesting video. I know, let's see. What am I trying to see? Trade deals hurt the middle class, unions. They talk about unions. Let's see.
Full-time salaried union workers made about 15.9% more compared to non-union workers in 2023.
And y'all remember this union strike that just had over there in the East Coast that shut the ports down for a couple of minutes. And they said they make more money than non-union workers, but you also got to understand that they pay like hella union dues too. Anywhere from like $10,000 to $30,000 a year for union dues. So again, like I say, it's a give and take. People make more. I mean, does it really help? I mean, it's good to have somebody there. They got your back where you can demand more stuff. But like I say, it's a give and take, man.
Single worker going to the boss and saying you need to give me a raise or I'll leave. It's not there's not a lot of force behind that threat. When you've got a union doing it, there's a lot of force behind that threat. And you look at countries that look like us, so they've experienced the same globalization shocks, like the UK, Canada, Germany. Their unionization rates have fallen a bit since the peaks, but nowhere
with violating federal laws during their union election campaigns. And 1 out of 5 campaigns involved the charge that a worker was illegally fired for trying to organize a union.
just the
And don't forget, the biggest issue with the union was not really wages, but it was the AI. They wanted the automation to stop because they know with a lot of automation, a lot of jobs are going to be, you know, deceased. And this video said that there was like there are a lot less people part of it. Like they say it was 1 in 4 people were part of a union like years ago, but now it's like 1 in 10. Automation gonna get rid of unions, y'all. Understand that. So that's why you got to keep up.
number of registered unfair labor practices that are firing people trying to organize a union have risen a lot. And one thing that's happened to enable that is, one, unions really do raise wages, and that's not something employers want.
The decline of union membership isn't the only roadblock for growing the middle class workers' income.
So in many cases, you'll have policies at a local level and a firm-specific level that cut off wage growth.
There's occupational licensing in different areas of the country, which can make it harder to start a new career.
While estimates vary, between a fifth and a third of all American workers are required to have a license to work.
I know for me, you got to have a nursing license. I just say you got people that do hair. Some states, I think Texas, you got to have a license, I believe so. But then if you don't have to have a license is a big benefit when it comes to advertising or marketing yourself. Because you can have all the skills in the world, and let's say you're a barber. You can be cutting hair for 20 years but don't have a barber license. Now, word of mouth, people will let you cut their hair because they've seen your work. But trying to go to a shop and work without a license, it's like a liability because you got to have a license to do stuff like that in certain areas. I don't say you can be the best barber in the world, but if you don't have a license, nobody's going to hire you. Not going to keep you if you don't go get that license. I mean, shoot, yeah, even in like I say, dialysis, you be a patient care tech. You don't have a license, but you got to have that CCHT within like 18 months. If you don't have that CCHT license, they got to let you go. So you have to have a license. Like I said, license for is really a liability issue. But plus, like I say, it's good for marketing. You say, hey, I went to school for this. I learned this trade. I know what I'm doing. So people say, okay, you're hired. That way we ain't got to go through this whole issue with you being a liability legally. But you got to understand too, every year you got to do these things called CEUs, like continuing education units. Every year, every couple of years or what have you. And it's just modules you do on a computer just to say, hey, going back and refreshing your learning on something. A lot of it's like unnecessary, a lot of just redundant, just going through the motions, and they know it, but it's just some way for corporations to just, you know, keep themselves, to cover their own butts.
A study found that jobs in states requiring a license earn about 8% more compared to the same jobs in states that don't. However, just a 10% increase in licensed workers with similar skills is estimated to reduce all workers' wages down by 1.6 to 2.3%. Economists estimate that eliminating occupational licensing can reduce earnings inequality within occupations by 2 to 4%. While licensing might appear to be necessary for some professions with health and safety concerns, researchers found no statistics.
I think as important.
The future of your business is here. With Wix, you get advanced AI capability.
This the middle classes economically.
I better get that YouTube premium, huh? With these long videos.
And I think it's incredibly important. It is just the entire game for, I think, politics.
Both political parties in the United States recognize the economic pressures facing U.S. families. There's different visions on how to intervene effectively.
I was raised as a middle-class kid, And I am actually the only person on this stage who has a plan that is about lifting up the middle class.
We've heard that 1,000 times. Raises a middle class kid in Canada. I remember this debate. Y'all see this picture? Y'all see what I'm looking at right here? What I'm pointing at? Look hard. Look close. I want y'all to pay attention to that. I remember watching this debate. Call me superficial, call me whatever, petty. But I'm like, if I was her, I'd fire my PR person. Because who did the lighting, the shadows, the angles, you can see all this down here. You see all this down here. You know, there's a saying that you can change the face, you can put makeup, you know, you can get Botox, fillers, you can work out, drink a lot of water, do your hair, color your hair so it ain't gray. You can do all that. It's not mean. I can say even. It's not mean. He look like a grumpy old man. But he's a dude. He don't care. But you change all this. But it says two things that you cannot deny. It's the neck and the hands. The neck and the hands give it away of what your age is. I always remember that. But hey, like I said, look at this. But anyway, keep going. I want y'all to remember that.
Us and working people of America.
For Kamala Harris, strengthening wages is about two things. It's about boosting the industries where wage workers work. So she wants to build on the Biden administration's infrastructure investments to onshore domestic manufacturing and construction and boost those domestic industries. She also has a huge focus on strengthening union protections.
You better thank unions.
She wants to raise the minimum wage, end taxes on tips, which is a policy that Trump first proposed and she later echoed. Trump's proposals to strengthen wages for the middle class, in many ways, it mirrors what Harris has proposed, which is to onshore domestic manufacturing and construction. He has proposed doing so by instating a hardline tariff policy.
Former President Trump publicly denounced global.
And don't forget that the tariffs are still in order right now. He said in his debates that the Biden administration ain't got nothing against tariffs because if they did, they would have got rid of them. They remember when they came into office, they said they gonna get rid of everything Trump did. But the one thing they didn't get rid of was those tariffs. Interesting.
During his time in office, blaming the financial struggles faced by many Americans on it.
We're doing tariffs on other countries. Other countries are going to finally, after 75 years, pay us back for all that we've done for the world.
He's faced some backlash from economists about how this could threaten to reheat the consumer price spikes that are just beginning to cool, but he sees it as a long-term strategy to bring domestic jobs back to the US, boost.
Now remember, rich people think long-term. Like she just said, he's looking at the long-term benefits. Excuse me. The Democrats are talking to you about short-term right now. But don't forget, they are looking long-term, but not for your long-term. They're looking for their long-term. Trump and Republicans are telling everybody this is a long-term goal. This is what we're doing. You know, this is what we're doing, and it's for the long term. Right now, it can hurt, but in the end, it's going to help America. What Democrats trying to do is going to hurt America because they're looking long-term, but they're looking long-term to themselves. But they're speaking to us short-term, like tax breaks, giving you money when you got new kids, food stamps, you know, stimulus. Well, Trump did a stimulus check too. Stimulus check, stuff like that. That's short term. When you base everything on that, like that, it's short term. But you got to think long term. You got to think about your future and your kids' futures and things like that because that's what they do. That's why I'm doing everything I can right now to minimize, lower, and eliminate debt, all the debt, as much debt as I can, because long term, ain't nobody trying to pay credit cards, card notes, hell, not even house notes for the next 30 years. Now, if you got to pay taxes, you can't avoid that. But everything else, trying to get done with debt. And if you can't buy cash, then don't get it at all.
Manufacturing in the US. So in some ways, this is his plan to grow the US economy as a whole and let the effects sort of ripple into the middle class as a result.
Another major difference is in the candidate's proposed tax policies.
I have a plan to give startup businesses $50,000 tax deduction.
A tax deduction, y'all do understand that that's post after you start a business. So you spend your money, spend your time starting your business, trying to get it going. You're in the red. Then at the end of the year, what happens when you file your taxes? She wants the tax breaks. It's not giving you $50,000 so you can start your business, because you're not paying $50,000 in taxes when you start your business. You understand? Especially small business. You're not paying it on the first day. You pay taxes over time when they want to see your receipts and your gains and losses. Then that's when the tax breaks come in. So this ain't, don't understand. I mean, that's what I ain't saying nothing wrong with it. I'm just saying, just make sure you understand what that is. It's not giving you $50,000 to start a business.
Pursue their ambitions, their innovation, their ideas, their hard work. I have a plan, $6,000 for young families for the first year of your child.
See, this is something like I say, this here and now, $6,000. I haven't had a child in freaking 20 years, so I don't know how much it costs to, you know, have babies and raise them. I mean, we got, you know, grandbabies and stuff like that that come in and out the house. Damn near say they live here. But anyway, uh, there really needs to be a discussion about not having children when you can't afford them nowadays. That should be like a real discussion. Parents should be talking to. I mean, I had my daughter told me, Daddy, she ain't had no kids, and we had a conversation. She said, Daddy, I remember when I was growing up. You remember we didn't have no money? I'm like, what? You realize you understood that? I knew I was broke as hell. Yeah, so I think that's why my children have not been in a hurry to have kids yet, which is great through experience. They saw what it was, and they saw what me and their mom did to try to, create and build. Because I saw what my parents did to try to create and build, themselves and family stuff like that up. So yeah, but that $6,000, man, with newborn, that's kind of crazy but it's a tax credit. It comes after you have that baby. Not I'm gonna have a baby and I'm gonna get $6,000. It's like you know how you do your income tax. You get them new credits like 2,000, 3,000, $1,500 for each child and stuff like that. So people have like a whole hell of a lot of babies, so they can get those refund checks, but only making like $20,000, $30,000 a year, $22,000 a year, which ain't nothing. But people sit here and now they don't see the long term. Not trying to use that money to start no business or go to school. They use it to buy a TV or a new car that they're only gonna keep for 3 months and then gonna get repo because they can't afford to pay the note no more.
Child's life to help you in that most critical stage of your child's development.
She has proposed offsetting the costs of her tax relief proposals by increasing corporate tax hikes and tax hikes on the wealthy. She's proposed increasing the corporate tax rate to 28%. She wants to increase the tax rate on long-term capital gains also to 28%.
Everybody knows I'm an open book. Everybody knows what I'm going to do. Cut taxes very substantially.
She got that necktie right there, but I think it's too low on her neck.
And create a great economy like I did before.
So in 2017, we had the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, which substantially lowered the corporate tax. And there's varying degrees about how much people believe that translated into higher wages, but there's a pretty strong consensus that lowering the corporate tax actually increased worker wages.
Some research has estimated that the 2017 tax cut led to a $750 increase in annual pay for.
Now, y'all might think that's not a lot of money, but think about this: 365 days a year. Let's say you buy coffee. Well, hell, coffee is expensive. Well, some places is cheap. Man, I think you can get coffee for $1 something at McDonald's. But let's say you buy coffee every day, a $2 coffee, $1.50, $2 coffee every day. That's just $7.50. So that right there shows you how much money that you waste all the time. So this is why budgeting is important, because if you can budget and penny pinch and see where you got unnecessary spending, $7.50 can be a lot of money. $7.50 can be a trip out of town somewhere, hotel for a day or two. If each of y'all are saving like $750, cutting back on unnecessary spending, you see what I'm saying? $7.50 can be a couple of outfits. Christmas may be coming. You can save that money up and get them gifts. Birthdays come every year. That $7.50, you can save that money and get birthday gifts, family reunions. stuff will break down, cars, appliances, stuff like that. So you gotta learn how to, like I say, budget.
For full-time employees in 2017 dollars. Opposing research argues that the earning gains were concentrated in the top 10%, with no changes in earnings for the bottom 90%.
Trump's framing of boosting the middle class by boosting the economy as a whole doesn't offer sort of the targeted approach that Harris has brought to her economic.
See it? Look at that. I know I'm being petty right now, but I wanted to get to this. Now I think I'm gonna end the video. See there? Next, that's where I think it's supposed to have been on that debate. Cover that nickel. Because again, I'm sure if I saw it, and I know I talked to my family about that, and they was like, we said they said the same thing. Like, really, dang. So if I saw it, and they saw it, a whole lot of people saw it, and I just saw like, dang, just look at the neckline. I mean, the older you get, you pay attention to stuff, you pay attention to details. So I'm sure like I say, her people said, "Ooh, man, that didn't look good." And she probably said, being a woman, probably said, "I don't like it. That don't look good. If y'all can't get the lighting right, you gotta do something to cover this neck up." But anyway, that's pretty much all I'm gonna say do with this video, man. It's a pretty good video. I liked it. I watched it. Had a lot of information, and I just wanted to share the information with y'all. So, I mean, hey, thank y'all for watching. I know it's kind of long, but hey, we got through it. I think hopefully y'all learned something. Thank y'all for watching. Don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe. Those 4 things cost you nothing, but maybe a couple of minutes of your day. But if you want to, help financially, support financially, you can get super thanks, super chat, or click on the links down below. You can go to marlonmorale.com. You get 10% off your first order, or you can go to the shop that's below this video here. Like I said, I thank y'all for tuning in. I appreciate y'all. However y'all support just by watching or sharing or giving a thumbs up. It means the world to us here. Again, I appreciate it all. With that being said, I leave you in peace, and I'll see you on the other side.